This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 1057, recorded on Wednesday, May 6th, 2026. Science de Mayo. Mayo. Well, hey everyone, I'm Dr. Kiki. Thank you for being here. And today we will fill your head with sky plastic, fish filth, and baby yawns. But first, thanks to our amazing Patreon sponsors for their generous support of TWIS. You can become a part of the Patreon community at patreon.com/thisweekinscience. Disclaimer. What kind of legacy does a great mind leave when it shifts from this mortal coil? What is left after all has been done and said? What remains of the hopes and dreams when people remember the man that had been? Is it the buildings, the centers, the labs, the papers? Is it the many presentations upon so many stages that leave the rest of humanity to guess what would have been done next? Or is it the students, the colleagues, the nemeses and friends? Will those who speak now forever create the space you inhabit in our minds? Or is it what is said here on This Week in Science? Coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening.
Good science, everyone. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. So good to be back for another week with you. Thank you for joining us. We've got a great show ahead. And tonight, joined by my guest co-host, straight from the land of What the If, filmmaker and documentarian Philip Shane. How are you?
I'm good, Kiki. This is a real honor. It's very exciting and a little bit strange for me. I've been watching this show for however many years, 20.
It's been a bit.
50,
yeah.
And suddenly it's talking to me like directly. It's very exciting.
We had a crossover once years back. You and Matt invited me on for What the If, and we talked about birds.
Yep.
And didn't you come on? You came on TWIS one time, and we talked about various sciencey things. I think we talked a lot about Einstein.
Yeah, and I think Matt was there too. I met Matt doing my co-host, one of my co-hosts, Matt Stanley. We were I did a documentary about Einstein once, and he was one of the experts in it. So
and became a lifelong friend.
Yeah, it's true.
And colleague. Yeah,
it's true.
Co-conspirator in science fun.
Exactly. And we got to get you back on the show. Also, you've been on more than once, but you the show, I don't know if you remember, the show you did with us is still one of my favorites. It was about the shrikes. Is that right?
Yeah, that was the bird show. Yeah, that episode.
They're like the Mad Max of birds.
I totally still think that.
Yeah,
they're cool. They're beautiful. Yeah. They're ferocious. They will impale things. Like, come on. Yeah, they're awesome. They're like, road runners are their own kind of cool, but the shrikes.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah. Good stuff. So thank you. Yeah.
No, thank you for getting a chance to talk about that kind of stuff. I honestly love that. Yeah. What are you doing now? What are you up to? What have you been up to since the last time that we spoke? I think we were, the last time I was on was with something to do with Myst, the video game.
Oh, no, a little bit. It was Polybius, which is this mythical video game that was rumored to basically possess
Yeah.
anyone who played it. Great story. Yeah, and you helped us imagine how would that work? How would the game interact with the brain in that way? But yeah, so I've been doing this podcast, as you mentioned, What the If, and with Matt Stanley and Gabby Panicia. Gabby is a biologist at Harvard, and Matt is a physicist and historian of science at New York University. And we've been doing that now almost 8 years, amazingly. So 400 something episodes, you know. In fact, interesting that you said
cute. You're babies. That's nice. Or like you're getting to be like kindergartners now. That's good.
You said something like, I think in your last episode, you said episode 125, but you must, now that I'm looking at the numbers, it must have been 102. Anyway, I don't know what it was, but yeah.
I think I said 1, and I think when I said it, it was supposed to be 10, and maybe just in the live moment, I said 1 and nobody caught me.
Yeah.
So it went out 156.
Yeah. No, you're all the way back to 156. Now those things add up. They add up quick.
Not starting over.
So I've been doing that. I also, we could talk about it now, or we could talk about it later. I also am a member now. I'm a member of the Planetary Society that was founded by Carl Sagan and a couple of other wonderful people many, many moons ago when I was very little and Carl Sagan was still alive. But I still have my card here, my membership card here on the wall. It's a membership from the beginning. But for the past about 10 years, they've been doing something called the Day of Action. And that's where volunteers from the society travel on their own to Washington, D.C. for on a Sunday, we have a training day where we get up to speed on the status of all the NASA programs and all the budgets and things like that. And we are being basically trained to get to talk to our representatives and senators, to their staffs in person in their offices the next day on Capitol Hill. And we push, usually they've been, most of them have been very supportive of science. In particular, we're supporting science at NASA, which is its own science directorate, they call it. And generally, the Congress has been very supportive of that over the years. The White House has not been supportive, and they've last year tried to cut NASA science in half. Oh yeah, and you're showing a picture now, and it's funny. I am actually in that picture, just to the right, just out of the picture.
Oh, just out of frame. I was wondering. I was looking at the picture, and I see actually a few faces that I know.
Oh, right.
I'm like, oh hey, I know some of these people in there.
Yeah, and
that's you're off screen for this.
I'm there in spirit.
Crop. Yeah,
there in spirit.
You were there physically.
Yeah, exactly. And Bill Nye is there, which is very, very exciting and a huge part of our motivation and training.
He's still president. He had been president of the Planetary Society for years, and a big part of helping the Planetary Society actually gain prominence because of his public credibility.
Yeah, no, he's been a phenomenal leader. He was president, I believe, for 15 years, and
it's a long time.
In fact, on the eve of this last event, I was honored to actually got invited to a very small dinner we had with the leaders of the society. We're sort of thanking Bill, honoring him as he stepped down from CEO, and he's now becoming a worldwide ambassador, which he said basically he gets to do the parts he likes and he doesn't have to do the parts he doesn't like.
Which is really it's where you want to get in your career. I've talked with my husband about this at length, which is grandfather status.
Yeah, that's right.
People want you there, but you don't have to be there all the time.
Exactly.
They let you go home and take naps,
Yeah, exactly. And I think if you wear a bow tie, you get to grandfather status, in half the time.
Yeah, it gets faster. Exactly. Yeah. So you were there, and did you actually speak personally with cabinet members or with certain lobbyists for organizations? So what did you do?
No, we actually meet with our representatives in the House of Representatives and our senators in the Senate.
Okay, cool.
Now we are meeting, for the most part, we're meeting
whatever state you're from.
whatever state you're from and whatever
Right.
district you're from in the House.
Yep.
And sometimes we also go into groups, and so we kind of meet other groups as well. But no, it's you, and you sit there, they spend time with you, and you really get to talk, and it's very moving. And I think the society and the two guys who run it in particular, Casey Dreyer and Jack Corrali, have just got honored by an organization that honors people who do activism for science. But they've done a phenomenal job at, and it worked. So last year, look, we weren't the only ones, but the president tried to slash science in half and zero out the STEM, but basically literally said, cut science in half and get rid of the STEM department. Yeah.
He wants to zero out the science budget this year for 2027 completely. That's where we are. Wow. That's where we are now. So last year, the efforts that were made to talk with members of Congress, to talk with representatives, I believe these efforts actually help, because you're going as a constituent and telling your representatives what is important to you. And so these efforts, as they're organized, are essential to actually maintaining the funding that is put in the budget by Congress. For NASA, for NSF, for NIH, for CDC, for HHS, for so many things.
And they tell us, and we get to ask the people who run these offices for the senators and for the Congress people, what is actually effective? Like, if people call, is that actually effective? We always say call, and they're like, absolutely, that is like insanely effective. And going there in person is the most, but that's hard to do.
Not everyone can go there in person, but a phone call is something you can do. 5calls.org. One of the best ways to give you an idea of what to say, how to say it, and who to call. So somebody here is asking, is What the If on YouTube?
No, it is not.
No, it's just a podcast.
It's audio only. I love radio.
I say just a podcast, even though people are now saying video is podcast also.
It is, sure. But there's any number of reasons for that. One of them also is that I work in film. And so, like, if I were to do the video, it would have to be so good that I just can't stand it. And I do love audio. I'll say this, actually, the idea of it's an imaginative show. We basically run with thought experiments, and they're sort of fanciful scenarios. What if gravity turned off all of a sudden? What would happen? And we use real science to imagine what would happen. And you learn from that. And also, that audio lends itself to that, because you can kind of imagine.
Oh, I love that. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite parts of podcasting, the audio aspect of it. I got into it through radio, and the whole, I still listen to radio in my car because I love the DJs. I love, when I take my son to school, the morning DJs talking about whatever it is. But I love, it's that intimate relationship, hearing what they want to talk about. And I think that, NPR gets it right so much, like the talk radio for so much get it right. It has been influential across the political spectrum and across the social spectrum, and just also for entertaining. And I don't know, I grew up listening to, record stories on records. So I don't know how many kids these days are listening to stories in podcast form, but I think it's
actually, there's a lot.
That imagination is so important. As somebody in media, filmmaking, documentary, talking to people out in the world, you just said there's a lot. Like, what are you hearing about the world of media these days?
Well, first thing I want to mention real quick, I realized there is one thing on YouTube. Well, I've done a lot of things on YouTube.
Oh, awesome.
There is a video, remember, that I'm a little mini documentary I made about Dr. Kiki. And
there is it. So ages back.
TWIS Takes Manhattan, it's called. So look that up. And what's happening in media today? Well, actually the movie business is in terrible shape. I think it may rally, but nobody knows. But we're in transition. We're in a huge transition yet again.
The streaming movies right? And how versus movies in a theater or
Even streaming movie, even just the
yeah.
shows them or the movie. Like I have a lot of friends that work in the movie business, and I'm in documentary. That's one side of it, and that's not
Mhm,
doing great. And the fiction side of it is typically doing much better. It's doing
mhm,
terribly
hmm.
with all these mergers of companies, and nobody. I don't know if anyone exactly knows why, but uh, it's a tough thing.
Money, money, money,
Yeah,
money.
yeah, that's right.
Like, gotta
Yep,
say,
yeah, yeah,
there's
yeah,
there is a bottom line to
yeah,
why a lot of this stuff is happening when it does not make sense culturally.
yeah,
When people are still going to see movies, when people are still enjoying movies and other, you know, creative media in their homes and externally to them. Like there's no other reason for it.
yeah, yeah. And
Although
you,
somebody
you
should do a scientific study, maybe an economist, I don't know.
Right, exactly. Well, I will say, YouTube is one of those reasons, right? That is part of
Yeah.
it. But I'll say this, I think YouTube is one of the greatest things that's ever been invented. I mean, if I wish I had YouTube growing up. I've been watching YouTube since the beginning.
Mhm,
And the same thing with television, people used to say how terrible television was, but I just
mhm.
watched PBS and Bravo and, I just choose to watch quality things. And you can do that on YouTube, and what's available is astounding, the amount of it. So.
I know that my child watches reels, and he also
Mhm.
watches a bunch of shorts on Instagram, but when I really, like, check in on him, he's watching long form content about, like, computer science,
Great.
programming,
Yeah,
graphic design, science, physics, like,
yeah,
he's in there history. He comes out and he tells me things about, World War II Europe that I have never heard before, but
yeah,
that are backed up by evidence and are not just, like, somebody spouting off. These are he's watching
yeah,
historians.
yep,
He's watching experts in their fields, and I think this is one of the most you're right.
yep,
It's one of the most brilliant could you imagine? All I had was the Encyclopedia Britannica that
yep,
was bought by
yep,
my dad and paid for over low monthly installments.
yep, yep, yep. We had the World Book. We didn't even have the Britannica. We just had the
Yeah.
but,
Oh, man, I should check. Maybe we only had the World Book also. I actually don't remember.
those were
And
good
and it
though,
was
actually. I mean,
yeah.
I could, right? We would sit there but yeah, what and then the obviously YouTube is inexpensive to create, right? And I have
Yeah.
some friends who are actually making decent livings, some quite decent, on YouTube doing
Yeah.
science, history type programming.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it depends on what you're doing, who you're doing it with, how it's
yeah.
being done. I think that and suddenly we have turned into, the Daily Tech News Show or,
Mhm.
some other
Yeah,
tech program, but
yeah.
this is the cultural application of all the science that came before, and I think that, honestly, we need to be looking at it from a social science perspective of
Mhm,
how all of this is being navigated and how it's changing society because it is
mhm,
impacting information. The information ecosystem has been I mean, I hate the word disrupted because it's overused, but it has
mhm,
been disrupted and it is a different place right now. And there are there are people doing such amazing work. But because it is not regulated, because there are
yeah,
no unions, because there is not a protection, we, similar to, Chappell Roan coming out at the music awards last year saying, hey, what about protections and like healthcare and, 401ks or
yeah,
whatever, like take care of your artists. We need that for movies. We need it for content creators as well because we have the big ones like Mr. Beast
mhm,
but it's still and he does good, but he's also a young dude coming into a fully fleshed out business environment without having understood all of the underpinnings of that media environment that's bigger. It's like a little fish coming into the big shark's jaws, right? And
yeah,
suddenly the little fish has to is going to be halfway down the gullet before it turns into a big shark also, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is evolution happening. It's fascinating, but anyway, I
Yeah.
have so many thoughts on this, but it's not our show right now. What else are you doing? Did you finish the Mist documentary?
No, we're still in
We're still
progress on
working on
that.
it.
Still
Okay.
working on that. They take a while.
Right.
Although we're in, some interesting things are happening with it. I think so. I hope to have some big news on that. But yeah, I've been making a documentary, for those who don't know. I've been documentary about Myst, the classic video game, and the guys who made it, and all the people involved, and the fans who love it. So yeah. So that's still going on. I'm also working on I'm editing a documentary, another Sesame Street documentary, actually. 15 years after. So I worked on Being Elmo with my good friend Connie Marks, produced and directed. And she's making a new film about the Muppeteer behind Abby Cadabby. If you know Abby, Abby's
Abby's a later Muppet. Abby wasn't one when we grew up.
Right. What's so funny is I was going to say, I still think of Elmo as new. Like, I didn't have Elmo, right? Elmo has been on
Elmo was not mine. I was like everybody when I was in college. Everybody's talking about Elmo, and then there was the Tickle Me Elmo, and then people are setting it on fire, and I had no clue what was going on. I was like, what?
Yeah.
I'm in college. I don't have kids yet. Come on.
He's been on Sesame Street for 30 years. So Abby is a newcomer. She's been there 20 years. And she's a little pink fairy.
Just a kid. Yeah.
She's got girl power.
Abby's also cute. Magic. I do love Abby. Yeah.
Yeah. So the Muppeteer behind her, Leslie Carrera Rudolph, is an extraordinary person. And so we're sort of making a portrait of her life. So that's been pretty cool.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's wonderful. I love that you're and by focusing on these figures in Sesame Street, you can come out from there. And do you know what kind of story you want to tell? Like,
it's she everyone is different. Hers, interestingly, she grew up very working class in Northern California, and when she was, I don't know, 18 or 19 or something, got her first big job out of California at Disney World. And so she went there in Florida. And
so she went from the Golden State to the Sunshine State.
To the Sunshine State, yeah.
Okay.
And little DV video cameras had just come out. And so she bought one of those, and it's the first time she'd been away from her family. So she started making essentially almost like a video postcard, a video letter home, a video diary, and sent home like, here's my apartment. This is what I do. And she never stopped doing that. And then eventually iPhones come around, and she just loves, she's kind of a documentarian of her own. She's also incredibly artistic. Everything is an art project. She will turn anything into a work of art. So we have her whole life sort of documented. So it's kind of and she's just a very poetic person. So, yeah. But essentially, how can you bring joy to the world when the world pushes back really hard? That's essentially the theme,
We need that right now.
Yeah.
Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah. However, I don't know. I mean, I do this science stuff, but however I can help, let me know. I mean, I think we really, really need more joy stories. We need reminders of that common humanness that is not just rooted in fear.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We need all the content, all the creativity that we can share with each other that reminds us that joy is actually revolutionary, that it is standing up to fear and people telling you what to do and all this stuff. Like joy is I love it.
Yeah.
I can't wait. I am
great.
I'm excited about keep me up to date on this one. I love this one.
Right on.
Yeah. Someone was asking, I mean, we're going to move on to science very shortly, but Fada is asking whether the original creators of Myst are still involved with the game, what they're like, and they're still up in Northwest Washington State, right? Not
That is
to tell people where people are located.
right. Yes, one is literally in Washington State, and the other is in another state, not far from Washington State. But yeah, they are still around. They are still making games. Cyan, Cyan is the name of the company. I would go check them out. In fact, they were just putting out some new stuff just now. I think they made a new version of Myst for PlayStation or something like that. So yeah, they're doing incredible stuff. And they remade, after Myst, the sequel was Riven, and Riven was like way bigger. And it's almost like they describe it as The Empire Strikes Back to Star Wars. Like the second one, we had all the confidence, we had all the money. Now we're going to really do it right. The first one was this scrappy little thing. Anyway, that game was called Riven, and they went and remade that 30 years after it was made the first time, and made it way bigger even than it was before. So it's a incredible thing. Also very poetic. I would say something that combines sort of the types of things I like to focus on. It's it's a very meditative game, beautiful. You're in nature, and there's a mystery, and there's some spooky villains you have to kind of navigate, but essentially you're just solving puzzles. It's kind of like science. And one of the things I learned from Myst, I would just say, is that when you're talking about how making the documentary is taking a long time. It's not easy to make these films from scratch. But Myst is a really hard game. In fact, the vast majority of people.
Oh man,
never
some of those
it.
puzzles. No, I don't think I ever did actually. There were some of those puzzles that, and it is like science, right? Where you get up against a problem you cannot solve.
Yep.
Then you have to go a different direction and work on a different puzzle for a while and see if you can do that. And I feel like there's definitely a parallel there.
Yeah, and it took a lot of patience and perseverance if you're going to actually see it through to the end. And a total side note, I had another career, very brief time, for about 4 years.
As a competitive Myst player.
Oh, no. I should have done that. That would have been fun. No, I was an intern at NASA at the Goddard Space Center. But I saw, I saw projects. That was actually the first place I think I saw projects that take a really long time to make. They take a lot of dedication and perseverance, but if you stick with it, you can, as Bill Nye would say, you can change the world.
Or reach out to the universe.
Yeah.
I went to Goddard back in 2006 or 7, maybe 8, with a National Association of Science Writers group, and saw the honeycomb mirrors as they were being designed and created. It was like the first iteration of the honeycombs, and got to learn about them there. Here we are 20 years later, right? We're getting these amazing images from the James Webb Space Telescope. There are these incredible science that's able to be done. We are touching the past. And it's only possible because of stuff that was done at Goddard and the patience of people who looked at the future and said, we can do something step by step. And they fought for their funding and the budget increases. And, I'm sure the story is brilliant. But how neat that you interned there.
Oh, it was amazing. And then the centrifuge was there that they trained the astronauts on, and other stuff. I worked on some cool stuff that went on the space shuttle. And the Hubble telescope was also run out of there. And the Nancy Grace Roman telescope is about to launch, which is basically the successor to Hubble, even though Hubble is still going amazingly. And they've just, basically they're about to launch. Incredibly, they are under budget and under deadline. They're ahead of schedule and under budget.
It happens sometimes.
It happens. And yet the entire Goddard Center is threatened with being shut down.
Yeah, they've been, but it's not just Goddard. They have been decimating all of NASA's facilities and all of the manufacturing, all of the, I mean, we've got research, we've got development, we have action, going to space and doing, everything is being outsourced. They are, there was a plan called the 2030 plan that was developed several years back. And when I found out about it a few years ago, it horrified me. And we are watching it play out right now, even as NASA is struggling for budget, even as the Planetary Society is going for a day of action, looking to support for support through Congress.
Yeah.
There's a plan that has been in place since the first administration that is still going. And it wasn't really slowed down during the last administration. So, I don't know. We're not going to talk about politics or other issues right now. We're going to talk about optimism. But actually, I have like a whole bunch of death and destruction and chaos in tonight's show. Are you ready?
Yeah.
All right, everybody, we have had a very long introduction with this wonderful conversation with Philip Shane. And I really do hope that you look up his Elmo documentary, like the Elmo movie. It is wonderful. Additionally, he has a documentary about Einstein, so many more. We will link to his website and we'll remind you again at the end of the show. And of course, What the If, an amazing podcast with Matt Stanley. And what is your other co-host's name?
Gabby Panicia.
Gabby Panicia. She was not there
Dr.
last
Gabby
time.
Panicia. Yeah.
Yes, of course. Dr. Gabby.
My co-host go places. When she started, she was so simple. She was a student at Rockefeller University. And then 4 years later, I guess as they do, suddenly she was a PhD and now she's at Harvard. She's a doctor at Harvard. So.
8 years later, here you go. Time happens. People do work. Things go forward. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so tonight on the show, we have stories about some plastic fantastic heat in the sky. I've got fish filth, I've got Swedish power, I've got some double trouble for the West Coast, and I have some brains and proteins for us, and maybe some yawns at the end of the show. Are you ready? You ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
You're ready. Okay, good. I need a little feedback here.
Oh,
as we jump into the show, I want to remind you that subscribing to the TWIS podcast on your favorite podcast platform or YouTube or Facebook or Twitch is going to bring you TWIS each and every week. Every time a new episode is published, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, 8 p.m. Pacific time-ish. You'll be able to watch us live on Wednesdays. And if you search for This Week in Science or visit TWIS.org, TWIS.org, that's our website. You can get show notes, links like those that go to Philip's website and his What the If podcast and other stuff like that. So you got to go there. Make sure you get all the links. Make sure you get subscribed. Share it with a friend. And also, please become part of our Patreon support network because we are community supported by listeners like you. All right. Are we ready? It's time for the science. Woo, 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 woo. All right. Here's our death. It's not the destruction yet. This last week, we lost a very large figure in the field of science. And in fact, in the specific field of synthetic biology. I had met Craig Venter once at a conference many years ago, and we were both much younger, but he was always an imposing figure with a vision and with amazing ideas. He stood in front of a collected SynBio Beta conference and talked about his ideas for the way that synthetic life could be printed using DNA printers on Mars one day in the future, that we might be able to do experiments here on Earth or in our space stations or on the moon, learn things, figure out new protein combinations, figure out new enzymes that would help us terraform other planets, that could help us deliver organisms that would allow us to take control of a foreign environment or even our own, to be able to take the enzymes, the proteins that we know degrade oil or petroleum, that we know exist in organisms here on the planet, but be able to upregulate it, to be able to create organisms that could actually deal with oil spills more effectively than the natural bacteria on our planet, to be able to deal with viral outbreaks, to be able to deal with so many issues that we are up against. He envisioned a future where we could design it, and he was also scary. He was forceful. He was gonna do what he wanted to do, and he did a lot of it. He is known for the J. Craig Venter Institute. He is known as a father of synthetic biology, of genetic modification, of creating organisms. We still can't do it. So I just want you all to know that we're not really there yet. So if you're getting scared a little bit, it's okay. Shh, we're gonna be okay. He had these visions, and I watched him talk about them, and he made them so exciting. It made your fears go away. I mean, he didn't talk about it so much here on Earth. The DNA printer idea, I loved that it was on Mars. That was okay. He died at the age of 79 last week, and it was related to cancer, but at the same time, it probably wasn't unexpected for him and his family. But when something like this occurs in the lifetime of a figure who is so broadly impactful to science, I think that it's a moment to kind of sit back and say, whew, wow, where does that leave us? He has an institute. He has a legacy, right? But what is that legacy going to be without him? And where he was one man, and we used to have a world of the science superstars who would push things forward, recently, because of things related to the Epstein files, because of, other issues related to that superstar science status, collective science seems to be more important. Collective, collaborative science seems to be the thing that's going to drive science forward now. But without a figurehead like Craig, how is synthetic biology going to move forward? Is it going to do it? What's going to happen? I don't know. Yeah, Venter he was controversial. I don't think that anybody will ever say that he wasn't. And I think that's important. And I don't think he ever sat back from his own role as being controversial. But I do think that it is important to just take a moment and think about this man who drove the single nucleotide, the SNP sequencing of the human genome. When we had a human genome project that took 13 years to get us a human genome, he was the guy who made something faster. It came out very shortly after the original human genome. After him, it was genomics companies. After him, it was the possibility of getting individualized genomes for under $1,000, now under $100, now under a day. The movement. He corporatized. He turned, not corporatized. He made it a business. He gave it a. He turned genomics and biology into something that people put money behind, and it radically accelerated the timeline. I don't know whether that's for good or for bad. What do you think, Philip?
Well, it's interesting, and I remember it must have been a 60-minute story or something like that, when it was like the Human Genome Project was happening, and then it was like, and now here's a story about this crazy guy, and wasn't he was like taking a boat around the South Pacific or something.
Yes.
Pulling things out of the water, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I don't remember what that project was called, but we talked about it on TWIS. Blair was very excited about it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's interesting what you say, because like I'm not at all up on the sort of the science behind it, but the idea of this public versus private thing is very interesting. You know, again, all the NASA stuff we were talking about is also all about that. It's a huge thing, I guess, in America, and I assume in much of the world.
A lot of the Western world for sure, but most of the world now. Yeah.
But it sounds like he was like, as you said, respected, and he wasn't. It sounds like he wasn't crazy like so many of these guys now. Yeah.
He wasn't crazy. He was very serious, very sane. But really the kind, like, he was dynamic in a way that could push things forward, you know?
Yeah.
He wasn't like every other scientist, for sure.
Oh, how so? What was?
Well, in the way that he could talk to people, in the way that he was excited about it, and could actually put the details aside to be able to tell a story.
Yeah.
He was a spokesperson. He was someone who could really get people behind him, you know? Like, if he were not doing synthetic biology and pushing, you know, human genomic research forward, he probably would have been a cult leader. But no. Kevin Reardon is asking, didn't he try to patent the human genome or human genes? And yeah, that was one of the things that he is known very controversially for, because he tried to say, well, we found these genes, we can identify them using this process, so we'll patent them. Thankfully, judges said no. They said this is natural, the genes are natural, and they existed before you discovered them, but you can patent the process. So that is where the difference between, if you create a chemical de novo, right, it doesn't have any existence in nature, you can patent that chemical. But if you're trying to patent something that you did a process and you're like, look, I made it with this process, you can't patent the end result, but you can patent the process to make it. And so this is, you know, one of the places where what's the gene editing technology that
CRISPR.
CRISPR, thank you very much. I was remembering Doudna, who made it, but I couldn't remember CRISPR. He wasn't alone, of course. There was also Charpentier and many other researchers, but CRISPR itself cannot be patented, but certain processes around it can be. So the process that is the CRISPR process can be patented, but those bacterial genes that exist, those cannot be patented. And so anybody can take those basic ingredients and make a new process if they want, or figure out something new. So it's all about the packaging.
Yeah, it's interesting. So another sort of theme that comes out of this that I think is very, still obviously very important now, is the regulation. You know, that if this balance between, yes, you can have these private companies doing these extraordinary things, and if the regulation kind of finds the right balance between regulation and non-regulation, I guess, or whatever, then things can really progress forward, right?
I think so. And I think it is a balance. And I don't know the man, or did not know the man well enough to know what his actual philosophy was. Was he doing things knowing, like, did he try to patent genes knowing that it would get turned down just to push it forward? And I think these are questions that we should ask, because if somebody isn't pushing, then it never has to be dealt with, right? And so more problems pop up if somebody isn't ahead of the game. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just observe things. I don't know anything. But anyway, I don't know. Did you have anything else you wanted to say about Venter or synthetic biology or this whole area?
No, I say I and maybe a lot of people like that, like me, who don't really understand it, other than I understand its importance, and
Yeah.
I constantly rely on, in a good way, Blair and you and
Yeah, Blair is the one. I rely on her too. Where the heck is she? No.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Sorry, Blair.
We're cutting up genes, and we don't know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And on my show, Gabby, also who's a biologist. So very interesting. Last question: Why was he proposing that that this gene editing or whatever be done on Mars? Was that just to avoid conflict, or?
No, I think he was setting up an inspirational story. It was honestly that day I saw him talk about printing synthetic bacteria on Mars and heard Jennifer Doudna give one of the first talks about CRISPR in a like, it was a crazy day. And I went home going, I don't even know what I just heard. But I think what he was doing, he was giving researchers something to aspire to. He's also in conversations with people in the new space era, who were in that industry looking at what could we do in space that would be safer than here on Earth. And so it's similarly, if you had a lab out of Lagrange point or on the moon or on Mars, it could potentially be way safer than a biosafety level 4 lab here on the planet.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So there is so much space that could be insulating, right? To actually say this is a safe space, even though it's in space and very dangerous to the people who are working there. But that day we were also hearing from entrepreneurs who were doing some of the first work on robotic labs, on labs where they're artificially intelligent or had programs sequenced into them that that researchers could upload certain instructions, could send their samples to this cloud. It's not a cloud, physical lab, just somebody somewhere else than where they are physically. But basically ask a lab that's robots to do the work for them. And so I heard about all these things in one day, and Craig was sitting in a place of, what is it? The seat, he had heard all of this stuff. He knew all of this stuff already. And so he was talking to that combined community and giving them a vision of what the robots, of what the technology, of what the intelligence, of what the everything, all the people, all the pieces could do together. And that was over a decade ago, and he's been doing that the whole time. Like he was a dreamer, and I think that's what he was doing there.
Yeah. And it points to the fact that for all we talk about, of course, science, how science is done well, and this could apply to other areas as well. But there's a lot of technology, there's a lot of mathematics, there's a lot of nitty gritty, elbow grease, all this kind of stuff that is involved. But a huge part of it is also just a storyteller. Somebody who can explain it.
He did that, and I think that's why, as much as he was a controversial figure, I saw him as somebody special, and why he stood out, because he was a storyteller. Or he had somebody who worked with him who was a good storyteller and trained him. and, had coached him and said, you need to talk about this. Either
Yeah.
it was him all along, or there was somebody behind him going, this is what you need to do. A science communicator, marketer person who was paying attention. I don't
Yeah.
know. And I want to hear that story.
Yeah. Totally.
Right?
Totally.
Yeah. Are you ready for more science?
Yeah. Ready.
Let's
Always
go.
ready.
And I will respond to Fada here. Yes, introducing non-native bacteria to Mars is not a good idea. We should not pollute any foreign world with our crap.
Yeah, but that never stopped Mars. Mars has been sending crap to us constantly, for littering Antarctica with it, because it's a mess. Not biological as far as we know, but geological.
As far as we know. Yeah.
As far as we know.
As far as we have discovered yet, or has been told to the public, no, I'm not one of those conspiracy theory people. No. There's a bunch of rocks from Mars on our planet because things knocked into Mars, their moon got boomed, and then billiard balls all over our planet. And we've done the same. Oh my gosh. But we've been sending craft to Mars for years, and where we thought we had clean rooms, we have learned we did not. And so our idea of clean, I think, we've been doing studies of funguses and other bacteria on our space shuttle, tardigrades. We crashed tardigrades into the moon.
I was going to say, there's
accidentally.
tardigrades all over the moon. Yeah.
I know. No, there's little tons. Oh my gosh. They get a nice little boost of sun and they're going to be like, burned dead. Oh my gosh. But I just feel it's all, the experiment has already begun. But maybe we should be doing some of those experiments that we've been doing on our space shuttle, not our space shuttle, our that thing that goes around the planet, space station. Thank you very much. The brain doesn't work live anymore. ISS.
Yeah.
But maybe we should move some of those experiments to Mars or close to Mars and see what have we dropped there that's still alive? Because I think it's important for, controlling our experiments. But anyway. Yes, rest in peace, ISS. It's not done yet, but pretty much.
Yeah.
But we know people who are making new ISS things where there's going to be an international hotel in space soon. It's going to be amazing. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. Other science, because I'm going to keep Philip up way too late. He's in Brooklyn.
No,
it's midnight right now. So
city that never sleeps. That's not a problem. Yeah.
There you are, never sleeping.
Yeah.
Okay. So here we get into disaster. You ready? You ready for disaster?
Yes.
Okay. So what do you know about global warming, Philip? What about the things that cause global warming or that are forcing factors in global warming?
Well, I guess I would say greenhouse gases. That's what I hear about. CO2.
Right.
That's pretty much my understanding. And there may be other gases that, go in the atmosphere and trap
water. Water is one. Yeah. Greenhouse gases. So we have, water. Actually, water vapor is a massive, massive forcing factor in and a greenhouse gas. People
so we should get rid of water? Yeah, it's clearly
totally. Yeah, no.
That is literally throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
Yeah. But, as everything heats up, more water vapor ends up in the atmosphere. The water vapor is part of the magnifying factors, or what we call a forcing factor. So people are like, water, it's not bad. No, it's not. Carbon dioxide, we know, has a very long lifetime. Carbon dioxide, methane, ethane, all those organics that are up there. Ozone, oh my gosh, that one, that's the cancer in Australia. But now, microplastics.
Oh, in the air? Or
Yes.
oh my God.
Just published in Nature Climate Change. Dun, dun, dun. Microplastic and nanoplastic particles are pervasive in the atmosphere. Nobody understood what impact they had. There's all sorts of things. There's dust in the atmosphere. There's pollution in the atmosphere. There's everything. Everything, bacteria, fungal spores, everything. Everything ends up in the air, and people are just like, it just smells so clean. No, it's really it depends.
This Dasani bottle just smells so good.
So good.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I know they're in the water. Well, they're in the ocean, right? These microplastics.
Yes, but when we talk about micro and microplastics, like that's actually big size particles, right? Like this is stuff you can see. Nanoplastics are the littler, tiny things that are much harder to see and to strain out. And recently there was a report, and it is talked about in this field all the time, about how they ensure that they're not like dirtying their samples, because there is a lot of work that people are reporting on. Plastic's bad, microplastics are bad, it's in your bones, it's in your brain, it's in your testicles, it's everywhere. Polar bears to wherever. And there is some truth to that. There's a lot of truth to that. But at the same time, it's unclear as to how accurate all of those measures are. And still to this day, we are unsure as to the impact on biology. Aside from when little animals eat plastic, it gets in their digestive system, it doesn't get digested, and then they die. So there's the one thing that everybody talks about, which is like, oh, the reproductive system, and plastics have estrogens, and so is this going to impact the reproductive system, and blah, blah, blah. Or plastics are very sticky, and so pharmaceuticals and other pollutants are going to stick to the plastics, and then they're going to impact the frogs. These are iffies. These are very iffy questions that nobody has like really clearly answered at this point in time. But brand new answer. Dun, dun, dun. Airborne microplastics trap nearly 1/5 as much heat as black carbon. Black carbon is one of the worst pollutants in our atmosphere for trapping heat. That's a physical body. Black carbon is soot. It is left by burning, volcanoes. Yeah, it's not great. But there's a lot of this microplastic that ends up aerosolized, apparently some of it through breakdown products. So like in the West Pacific Gyre, I think it's Gyre. But in the Pacific Gyre, where plastics seem to be collecting along with a whole bunch of other garbage, aerosols are coming from there as well. So it's part of now a new feedback loop of particles and how particles end up in the atmosphere.
Wow. And I could say, everybody saw the pictures that came back from Artemis. It went to the moon, and these magnificent pictures of Earth. And among the many kind of stunning images are those ones where you can see the atmosphere is just this ridiculously thin, layer of little bit of glowing, in the sunlight around the Earth. And so, so now it's full. That is, you can imagine that full of all these other things that shouldn't be there and that are trapping the heat. They're basically right. The interesting thing about these greenhouse gases or things, pollutants, is that it seems like they let the sunlight in. Right, so the sunlight comes from the Earth and it gets through them, somehow hits the ground, heats up the ground. Then the heat comes off the ground, but the heat is trapped right?
Yes.
And just builds
As
up. And builds
Blair
up.
likes to say, it's an insulating blanket.
Yeah.
Where you can imagine there's like a small amount of heat that might leave, right? But
Mm-hmm.
it traps all that wonderful heat inside. And so this is another ingredient that we had not added to all of our models. So this is actually very interesting because understanding what is in the atmosphere. So we have this understanding of, okay, the atmosphere is heating, the lower atmosphere, the upper atmosphere heating at particular rates. What's in it that is contributing to the speed of the heating? And over time, we're like, okay, black carbon, greenhouse gases, water vapor, let's add these things to the list of what works. And we're getting better ideas of how each of them work and what they do. This breaks down that like unknown component that has been, like C in E equals E equals MC squared. It's just fudge factor, right?
Yeah.
It makes that it's not as much of a fudge factor anymore. It gives more accuracy because now we can say this component, and I will tell you what they found here, is that the global surface concentrations reach 4.18. Wait, what are the P? Mega. I don't know what the P stands. Microplastics. Oh yeah, 4.18 microplastics per meter cubed for micro. I don't know what MP stands for. This is something that I should have figured out, and I apologize that I don't know the exact nomenclature for this. 3.67 nanograms per meters cubed for nanoplastics. And this means that there is 4 microplastic and nanoplastic particles, 0.039 plus or minus 0.019 watts per meter squared, equivalent to 16.2% of black carbon forcing. And this means that they found peaks over the North Pacific subtropical gyre, gimbal and Wabe, exceeded local black carbon by 4.7 fold. So they were unrecognized and very impactful. So,
and another possible reason why, I mean, don't they say that the Earth seems to be heating up more than
faster than expected. And
Yeah.
so maybe having something that was unrecognized before be recognized, we can start to put timing to it and say, oh, this is how it plays in the equation. Right? So that's what I was thinking too. You just said it. Maybe this is part of the explanation of why it's going faster than we thought.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay, we're going to move away from the atmosphere, and we're going to dive into the water right now.
All right. Refreshing.
Do you like salmon?
Yeah, I like salmon.
You like?
I do.
You're like, yes.
Yeah.
All right. So, are you aware though of the difference between wild caught versus farmed and the impacts on the environment that people have been talking about over the last few decades?
No, I see those terms on the wrapper, the package, wild caught or farm. But I can't say I know how it affects the environment. Yeah.
And so this is a big question. What has been shown is that the farmed fish, when and if they get into the environment, they mess it up. They don't know how to behave. They don't know what to do. They have bad hormones. They're just like, I'm a
city fish.
Salmon. Yeah, exactly. I just listened to The Clash way too long. I don't know. I feel like Henry Rollins out in the country. What do I do?
Yeah.
Excuse me. But this is a huge question as to how aquaculture of these fish, how it impacts the environment and and because, normally fish, like all
Mhm.
wildlife, they run around, they eat where they will, they defecate where they will, they do whatever they will in their place. And then we go and we're like, hey, you're like farmed now, so get into that pen, which is in water.
Mhm.
And we have farmed fish on land for certain species that are up in the mountains, way
Mm.
inland, far
Mm.
away from the sea. But in Norway, it's right in the fjords,
Mm.
and they've got like 995 different fish farms in the fjords of Norway. Um, Norway is the largest farmed salmon producer in the world, according to The Guardian. And I came across this story thanks to The Guardian. And I think it's incredibly important because when I went to The Guardian to look at the story, it also showed an advertisement for Nordic fish oil supplements along with
Uh-huh.
this story, which is, I don't know, the balance. It makes sense, but it's a little funny. It's,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
watching that murder movie that chopped somebody's head off, and then the ad for Ginsu steak knives comes on right after.
Yeah.
It's
We
well
heard you
timed.
like knives. Yeah.
Yes. So, salmon I don't know. Growing up, it was a delicacy. You only
Mm.
got to have it if like once a year. It was like
Mm.
Canadian maple candy. Like you
Oh.
maybe got it at Christmas time. Maybe the smoked salmon that the grandfather brought for the
Mm.
bagels. I don't know. It was very much not a normal thing. And over the years, everybody's got salmon. Do you want
Mhm.
salmon on that? Do you want chicken? Do you want salmon? It's like salmon is now like the chicken of the sea, and it definitely doesn't taste like the chicken of the sea. But it is being farmed in that
Mm.
way, and Norway is pushing it forward because it is a wonderful, wonderful industry. It's helpful to their economy, it's fantastic. However, there is an institute called the Sunstone Institute that is dedicated. It's a data-focused organization, bunch of data scientists trying to do good for the world, for the environment, and
Mm.
they found in a recent analysis that Norwegian aquaculture released 75,000 tons of nitrogen, 13,000 tons of phosphorus, and 3,600 tons of organic carbon last year alone. And according to this Guardian article, this is the equivalent to the untreated sewage of 17.2 million people for nitrogen. 20 million people for phosphorus, and 30 million people for carbon.
Wow. And that's those numbers, by the way, just for the heck of it, right? That's New York City itself. Now, within the city limits is 8 million people. And I
But
imagine
every
maybe,
day with commuters, and so
right,
doesn't
the
the
whole
city get to
area.
be like 20 million people every day because of business?
Right. So I was going to say this basically adds up to sort of like a vast metropolitan area.
Vast,
Yeah.
dense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now imagine Norway with these beautiful fjords, right?
Yeah.
These gorgeous fjords, and I'm gonna keep saying it like that because like it's great. But the coastline of Norway
Oh,
has
yes.
these beautiful landscapes, and it's special because the ocean comes in to this very folded coastal structure. So I think of the coast of Norway as like the surface of a human brain, with all of those deep crevices and everything that might go in there or come out. But if you don't have the proper flow, if there's not enough water coming out to push everything out of the fjord into the sea, it's going to sit. and you have these very old, very cold, pristine environments. Yeah, not entirely pristine, but Norway's not huge. So even though there's industrial waste, even though there's human waste, even though there's agricultural runoff going into the fjords, now you also have the fish runway, like this runoff from the fish. And there is a website by the Sunstone Institute that I think is honestly one of the most beautiful web stories that I have ever seen, that is their report on what they found. It tells the story of one researcher who spent his life looking at salmon industry waste. And it shows these beautiful videos of him going below the cold sea, and looking to see how the salmon industry has impacted these fjords. Fjords. I'm going to keep saying it like that. Anyway, you have these circular pens that exist at the edge of the fjords, where the salmon, before they're released to the sea, before they're taken to the open sea pens for adult development, they are kept at the edge of land to, kind of make the life history of the salmon in their development. They spend their youth in the rivers. They get into the brackish, rivery water that goes to the sea. They spend 2 to 4 years out to sea, becoming adults, and then they come back again to spawn at the rivers where they were born. And so this is trying to synthetically recreate that. And they've got the babies that were now the smolts that are growing into their adultish form at the edge of the fjord. And they've got them in these contained pens, and they're feeding them salmon kibble. They're just nutritional food pellet, like cat food, dog food, but for salmon. And they shake it down over the top of the circular pens, these tanks, but the fish are in them. And then all the water is a freshwater flow through. So all the water goes through, and then all the garbage comes out. Undigested food, waste from the fish, everything of this biological in nature, which we know on the West Coast here, and also Florida, very familiar with algae blooms, very familiar with oxygen dead zones, where if you have too much biological matter, it eats itself. It eats all the oxygen, and then nothing can survive. And so these researchers, they have found that they have these pipes where there's tons of biological organic material that comes out, and the fish, the cod, the smelt, the fish that live in the fjords are feasting on the detritus of the salmon. But so are the sea urchins. The kelp forests that normally grow in these places are dying because the algae is dying. The urchins are coming. There is not enough in these places, even though there is excess, to actually support the ecosystems anymore. And so we're seeing a problem of the salmon. Anyway, I'm going to stop scrolling through this website. It's incredible. I highly recommend anybody who's interested in the plight of agricultural fisheries, agriculture, apiculture. No, apiculture is bees. But anyway, anybody who is interested in this, I highly recommend. I'm going to share the link, and it is one of the most amazing reports I have ever seen visually, but also data-driven, story-driven. It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, beautiful website. Effective.
And we need to save the fjords.
Yeah, I have never I've never imagined the word filth and Norway in the same sentence.
You wouldn't.
Now we know. No
Yeah,
one is sacred. Nothing is sacred.
and so but this is one of the things they bring up is they've gone to the companies and they've said, "We went below the water. We saw what's happening." And they said, "We're within regulations. Everything we're doing is fine."
Yeah.
And so this is where there needs to be a conversation, and this institute, the Sunstone Institute, is trying to tell this story in a way that makes people want to talk to their representatives in Norway, right? Try and get people to fill the gap in regulation that is currently allowing these companies to overfeed the animals, to allow the waste to go into the fjords. There's something that is not sustainable here. And you look at Norway and you go, of course they're going to fix it, but they're human too. So they've got capitalistic tendencies as well. So
also it's interesting. You can see it's a little surprising because from above, for those who didn't see the website, from above, it looks magnificent. The grass is green right next to the facility. The water is, blue. It's beautiful. But it was, this diver went under the water and shows you that. And without that website, without his footage, you wouldn't know that.
And you wouldn't know. And I think but it's the calm before the storm, because it's only so long before what's happening under the surface can't be hidden by a few meters at the top. It'll make its way to the top, and those blue fjords will become green. People ask, "Oh, why is Lake Tahoe gets more green all the time? We want Lake Tahoe to be blue." These are similar questions. How do we work together to make our environments resilient, sustainable? I don't know.
Yeah.
How?
Or reminds me, and again, yet another thing, poetic moment from the Artemis mission. I think it was Christina, the astronaut, said, she's very, but they were all just incredible.
They're all so amazing. They picked the best astronauts.
Yeah.
They did.
Yeah, they did. And there's a story. I'm curious to learn that story, how they chose them.
Each of them.
And, but anyway, she was saying, that she was talking from the craft or something. And she said, we are a crew. You're all talking to us. We're a crew on this ship. And she said, and then I was looking back at the Earth, and it was so tiny, so far, and floating in this blackness of space. And she thought, oh, that looks like a ship too. And you talking to us, you're the crew, so.
Yeah. Can we act like the crew? Can we, I mean, even that crew from Gilligan's Island, they worked together too.
I was think we're like a crew of pirates or something, all drunk and fighting with each other.
Oh. We know how to do this. We do. It's just we are allowing certain interests to keep us from doing it. Have you seen, like, honestly, have you seen, Shane, the news about sustainables and renewable energy recently? Have you?
No.
I saw a graph this last week. California is mostly sustainable energy.
Oh,
Fossil fuels, it's natural gas was some 31%. Solar, wind, hydro, geo, they were all together more energy towards the usage on a particular, like, one day last week. Natural gas was this small piece of the pie compared to what you would expect it to be. And I just sat and I looked at that and I went, this is why the fight is so big right now. Because we can do this. I don't know. We're doing it. And what Trump has done recently with the canal, with the strait.
The canal, yeah.
The canal,
Exactly.
the strait.
Love canal.
Yeah. Well, what he has done recently has inspired investment in sustainable and renewable energies internationally.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, he might not have wanted to do that, but hey-o.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
So we move from disaster at that point to maybe there is an upside there. But back to the United States. My last little story here in this part of the show. Do you get earthquakes in Brooklyn?
You know what? It's so funny. I was talking about that just the other day with a friend.
Were you?
Occasionally we do. Not like now. I used to live in LA, so I've had more experience there. But
so that would be more like San Andreas Fault,
right,
and all the other things. So you're aware of the West Coast.
Oh yeah.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
Environment.
Yeah.
So I moved up to Portland, and it's like, oh yeah, volcanoes everywhere, Ring of Fire. That's really cool. And you don't really put two and two together at first until you go, oh, right. And there's the Cascadia Fault, which is a massive fault, which people over the last like 10 years have been like, hey, this is ready to go at any point. It's going to be major. And you still have like petroleum and fossil fuel right here in the port of Portland. And you have all these things that you have not fixed. There's going to be a problem, right? And we get little blips every once in a while. And it's kind of like, that's nice. So it's like I went from the San Andreas Fault in California, growing up near that and saying, okay, whatever, anytime, I'm ready, to moving up here and all of a sudden being like, all right, just a different fault, anytime, I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Got my earthquake kit. We're ready.
Yeah.
But yay! Doesn't one good fault deserve another? So a new study out of Corvallis, Oregon, Oregon State University has worked on a study that was just published in a geoscience journal called Geosphere. They were doing a management survey several years back of the Cascadia Fault, which is off the coast. And so they were kind of in their boat and moving down the fault line, taking cores and trying to look at, the sedimentary layers to look for evidence of earthquakes at different points in time, because looking at the way that the sediments have bounced and shifted, if you take a sifter, it shifts the smaller particles to the bigger particle. The bigger particles go up, smaller particles come down. And the same thing happens in our sedimentary layers around faults. And so they're able to look at the fault, around the fault, at these cores, and be able to go, oh, okay, here. And we've got down the fault line. This was definitely a major time. We can, date the materials and are able to go, okay, this is 1,000 years ago, this was this many years ago, and they kind of kept going down the fault, and they thought they were still on the fault, and they kept following, and then they realized they were no longer on the Cascadian fault line anymore, but they were getting some really interesting cores. They were like, what's going on here? It turns out they had just moved down onto like more San Andreas Fault material. So they're offshore and they're finding these fault lines. And they saw a reversal of some of the patterns that had been happening along the Cascadian Fault, where they were like, here's an earthquake, here's an earthquake, here's an earthquake. And they were like, what happened? What happened? What happened? And they realized the two faults act together. So when one goes, the other goes.
Huh.
And it happens within hours or days, not
Wow.
months or years.
Wow.
So what they're saying is that there is evidence in the core samples that they took of major earthquakes along the faults that led to both faults actually having major earthquakes
Wow.
within a very short period of time.
Wow.
So,
although we haven't seen that in like in the past
over 1,500 years. Yeah. So it's like
right.
it's like this kind of big earthquake they're talking about, like it's
Right.
over 1,000 years. So where they're talking about, they keep San Andreas fault ready for, Cascadian fault ready for, oh geez. So they suggest that it may not just be the Pacific Northwest that goes when the Cascadian fault does. It could lead to a sympathetic earthquake within hours or days across the California coast. So it could be the entire West Coast goes in just one day. Chaos.
Whoa. Crazy.
So, I don't know. I'd rather go back to that salmon story of the Norwegian fjords.
Yeah.
I'd rather go back there because that seems like something that we can fix.
And it's always funny because these stories of like where there's some period, you know, some historical pattern of something leads, for instance, there's a historical pattern of ice ages, right? So, but it leads to these things where the amount of time between them is so huge that you don't know, does this going to affect your life at all? Well, it could tomorrow, or it may never, you know, not for hundreds of years or thousands. Yeah.
Right. And this is one of those moments where people are like, well, it could happen at any point. But what is that point? Tomorrow or 20 years from now or even 100 years? Because geologic time doesn't. And we don't have a way to actually like pin it down. Do you remember like in Italy, there was a massive earthquake. They had like pre-shocks, these seismic shocks. And then the physicists or the geophysicists were sued. They were convicted and they almost went to jail, and it was overturned later. But somebody basically said, oh, go home, have a glass of wine. Like, you'll be fine. It's great. And there was a massive earthquake and a bunch of people died.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. What they say, hope for the best and prepare for the worst.
Like I said, get that earthquake kit.
Yeah.
Make sure you've got what you need.
Yeah. Well, I am curious. I would be curious to hear what, given all the building regulations that came out of all the earthquakes, you know, things have gotten much, much, much better. I mean, I remember even living in Los Angeles in the early 2000s, we had a couple earthquakes. You know, fortunately, none of them were like insanely devastating, but I remember them always saying that in LA, one or two places had some minor damage. Had this been in some other parts of the world, it would have leveled the entire place, you know? So I wonder how things would fare under, like what level of shock, what on the Richter scale, I wonder what they're talking about for this.
Right. And so
jumbo.
Yeah. And so what level of shaking has to have it happen across the Cascadia fault? Does it have to be the entire fault? How big does it have to be to shake the San Andreas, and vice versa? You know, when one goes, how big does it have to go to make the other go too?
Of course, Cascadia, you got one up on the boring Southern California. You've got, what, 5 volcanoes or something?
Oh, like I said, Ring of Fire. Hello.
Right, exactly.
We're so good. I can see 3 volcanoes from my house.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, come visit.
Yeah.
Come on. Next time you're out here.
Yeah, that'd be great.
For your mist.
I have been to Mount St. Helens a few times. That is an astounding
I still need to
thing.
go.
Oh, you haven't been? Oh my gosh.
Well, I've
It's
been, but I haven't like gone hiking
yeah.
up. Like I really want to do like a good hiking trip up Mount St. Helens and like really check it
Mm,
out. But
yeah.
yeah.
It's
And as Paul Disney is saying, most of our volcanoes are inactive, but
I
that
know.
doesn't mean that they are
Back
extinct.
there was a time
They're
in this
inactive,
country
not
there was
extinct.
a time in this country where our volcanoes used to do things.
They used to do things. They still might. Who knows? They're just inactive right now. It's like,
Yeah.
I'm taking a nap, and then I'll get up really quick.
Yeah.
Jeez. The natural world is amazing, and we love putting our houses near the big, pretty, scary things. Oh
Yeah.
my god.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, I'm gonna take this moment to quickly say, this is This Week in Science. Thank you so much for joining the show, and I do appreciate the time that you're spending here. If you want to take a moment, head over to twist.org, click on that Patreon link, become a supporter of the show. It would really, really help us out month to month. We can't do what we do without you. Additionally, hit share. Are you watching us on social media? Do you have a podcast player that allows you to share with your friends? Please tell people about TWIS. You can't keep us secret. Don't hold us back. These are important conversations, and we really cannot do what we do without you. Thank you for your support. All right, Philip, we're going to come back for a few more stories. Am I keeping you up a little too late
No,
tonight?
seriously, I'm loving every second of this. This is totally great. This is way better than
Yay!
sleeping.
Science for
Yeah,
keeping you
exactly.
up at night.
Oh my god, it's incredible. Incredible. Seriously, it's great. Yeah.
All right. So one thing I've always been very interested in is how our nerves, some of them become covered in a substance called myelin. And
Mm.
myelin is like, it's been described as an insulating sheath. People have talked about it similar to like an insulating outer layer of an electrical wire, where it is supposed to keep all the current flowing down the wire. This is not an accurate analogy, and I will tell you right now, I have learned through the years, it very much is not accurate. But we can still allow imagine it as that outer layer of a wire, that red plastic on the outside of an electrical wire. That's like the myelin sheath. It's on the outside, but it wraps around the length of the nerve as it extends, say, from your spinal cord all the way down to your foot. There's myelin wrapped around that. From your brain down your spinal cord, myelin wrapped along those little nerve fibers, helping to keep it all healthy, making sure it all works. The sheath also is involved in the signaling itself, and that's why I'm saying it's not actually accurate, that previous analogy. But anyway, it's the myelin sheath wrapped. It's a cell, a glial cell that wraps around the nerve. And sometime in our development, our bodies go, we're not just going to make more glial cells. We're going to have them turn into myelin and protect the nerves and make sure that our nerve conduction is amazing for our giant body size. It's very important. So, a lot of small organisms, little honeybees, other insects, little animals, they don't have myelin around their nerves. Their nerves don't move far enough. They don't have enough going on. There's no myelin needed, no glial cells, nothing involved in the same way. Mammals, other organisms that are bigger than very small stuff, they need that protection to make sure that the signaling propagation works the way that it does. When myelin goes bad, very often it's because it's attacked by the body itself. An autoimmune disorder called multiple sclerosis attacks myelin, destroying it, and that leads to problems with signal propagation. It leads to destruction of nerve pathways. It leads to the destruction of nerve cells themselves. Myelin is an essential part of our central nervous system. So, at some point in our development, our body goes, make mine. But it doesn't happen all at once across the entire central nervous system. It happens differently in different parts. How does it know? And this story that came out this week, just published, researchers at the Advanced Science Research Center at the City University of New York. Is it CUNY or SUNY?
Yep.
CUNY.
Oh, well,
Or
if that's
SUNY.
City University, that is
CUNY.
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 Yeah. SUNY is the state. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. This is why I needed you here today.
Yeah.
No.
Michio Kaku is one of their famous professors.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, CUNY Graduate Center, this Advanced Science Research Center at the CUNY Graduate Center, they just published in Nature Neuroscience this study of developmental stages, 32 to 40 weeks in human gestation. They were looking at mice, not in humans, but they were looking at the development of oligodendrocytes, which they come from progenitor stem cells, and they become myelin. So they're these brain oligodendrocytes. They get turned into brain cells, and during these very critical moments of fetal development, what they determined is that there's this period of time where glucose is heading into the brain area and is just like glucose, glucose, glucose. And so the glucose sets a signal to grow lots and lots of oligodendrocytes, these precursor brain cells. They could turn into lots of things. And the glucose is the signal for growth, for division, for multiplication, for just doing all the cool stuff. And then, though, when you take the glucose away, it's a switch. And that switch is what leads to the development of myelin. And they found that there are critical enzymes that are involved that are the switches, and that these different enzymes in different regions, so they could look at the gene expression for these enzymes in different parts of the brain, and they were in the mouse brain and able to go, oh, so now this part of the mouse brain is going to myelate. And it did. They would like turn it off expression wise. They could develop a switch. They could be like glucose switch on, glucose switch off. And when they did, they basically were turning off cell division and turning on myelination. Yeah. The importance of this is that if we understand the switch that controls why or when myelination happens, maybe we can start to understand why and when it goes wrong. And maybe we can understand how to fix it. So, yeah.
That'd be amazing.
It would be. Oh,
yeah.
I'm tired of multiple sclerosis in the world. Make it go. Just make it go. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Make it go away.
Yeah.
No, Kevin Reardon, it doesn't turn into myelin plastics.
What is that? And so it's built it grows in different parts of the body at different times. It almost sounds like a roving construction crew or something.
Right. So, but not different parts of the body. If you can imagine the central nervous system. So you have the central nervous system that is an extension of your lower spinal cord. right? So the nerves that come out of the lumbar region of your spinal cord, you have the central nervous system that it's your brain, but then you have the central nervous system that goes all the way down your spine. The central nervous system is a contained system, and it is its own separate, independent, not independent really, but it's its own contained system within the body.
Wow.
So anything that is held within this system, the nerves, the support cells, the blood-brain barrier, those endothelial cells that are involved in the capillaries that bring blood and filter the lymph and hemoglobin for the nervous system. Like, yeah.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah.
Almost any of this stuff, biology, I didn't learn a lot because in the way I looked at it when I was in school, the physics department everything was dry, and like when you do astronomy, everything you're studying, it's far away. You don't have to smell it or touch it, let alone cut it open. The biology stuff, it was in your face, it was in your hand, it was wet, it was smelly, and I just couldn't deal.
I love that. You're like, that's why I didn't do biology. That's
why. It was wet.
Too close and wet.
I did the dry science. Yeah.
I do love. I saw a graphic today that was, one of those jokes where it was like, oh, biology is the basis of everything. And somebody says, well,
physics.
Biology is just applied physics.
Yeah.
And then somebody else says, well, physics is just applied maths. And then someone else says, maths are just applied philosophy. And then someone else says, well, philosophy is just applied biology.
Oh, that's really good. Wow.
And I was like, ooh, full circle.
Total. That's like an awesome rap battle right there. Yeah.
You got to get all of them in there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm going to say, so for, all that stuff always just makes me amazed at like evolution, right? And one of the things I was thinking as you were describing just these incredible systems was like, I'm going to guess somebody has calculated that evolution had time to build all of this stuff through random. Yeah.
So, but this is still, okay, you mentioned random, which I think is, it's one of the big discussion points where people come in and they say, really, it's random, it's not planned, there isn't a creator, like, what are you talking about, And I think this is where it gets very interesting because we see that there is randomness, there is random mutation, there is, the impact, we've shown the impact of gamma rays or even X-rays on our DNA and how these things can impact change in ourselves to, lead to cancer or, other diseases. And so the question is, okay, we've got it in ourselves, fine, but what about next generation? And it's like, well, do you think those rays like don't impact the stem cells or like your sex cells at all? But moving beyond that, researchers are looking at the patterns of inheritance across eons. And so we know there is something that's called the mutational clock. And the mutational clock is actually it's a well-accepted timing of how often mutations occur in DNA and certain amounts of DNA, over a certain amount of time. Right? So it's like, oh, well, you've been around 10,000 years. You've been around 1,000,000 years. We expect X number of mutations over that time. Right? But then you play in what we've been learning. So forever, it was all just DNA, right? So it's mutations in DNA, and that's all we're looking at. And so the question has always been, how is it only DNA that's responsible for all of this? And everybody's like, oh, of course, it's just Darwinian evolution, natural selection, and it's whatever you've got. it's, going to make you more successful. And so then heritability, and you pass it on to the next generation, and so on and so on. Right. And I used to actually laugh at the whole idea of, um, what was the dude's name? It's not Mendelian. No.
Oh, Mendeleev or
The giraffe neck dude.
what? A
No,
scientist or a
a
critic?
scientist who came up with a different idea that was your offspring are impacted by stuff that happens to you during your life, or that you actually like, I want to have a bigger neck, and so my offspring have a bigger neck. And so
Oh,
there was this whole, and I'm blanking on the name right now.
not Richard.
Lamarck.
Lamarck. Oh.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Walt
Yeah.
Disney, you win. And there's a CK. It is. Your spelling was wrong, but thank you very much. This is why I like having a live show with the chat.
Yeah.
Thank you. Lamarckian evolution, which is the idea of accumulated changes during your lifetime being
Mhm.
passed down. And we could not find evidence of this stuff. And everybody was like, no, Darwin. And then Mendel and
Mendel.
genes, and it's just DNA. It's only
Mm.
DNA. And now there was a study out this week, actually, and I've seen other studies additionally to this, that they suggest that it's the extra stuff. So there's control factors. We've got RNA. We've
Mm.
got proteins, enzymes that actually feed back and control how chromatin moves. We have these factors that control how much of a protein is expressed, or I mean, when I say protein, I mean how much a gene is transcribed to be expressed, or how it is held back. And so there is an entire world of infrastructure that lies on top of the DNA
Mm.
that we are just beginning to understand.
Mm.
And this study this week was basically about conserved regions of DNA. And what they were showing is that between these moths and butterflies, which are closely related, but whatever, that they used the same genes over and over again for their coloration. They weren't mutating those genes to get their special coloration. It
Oh.
was all these control factors on top of those genes that allowed for a red here or an orange here or dark
Mm.
colors. And so evolution is much more nuanced, and the mutation and the change is very different from what we think it is. But what you have, though, so in those moths, conserved regions that are responsible for coloration, and somewhere else in the genome, you have regions that maybe have been changed that control the expression of those
Yeah.
particular genes that are making the color, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's a long way for me to just say, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Well, no, it is interesting because like I've done, I'm by no means a expert programmer or coder, as they say now. But if you do any kind of computer coding, if you evolve, you begin with a very simple idea, right? I
Mhm.
just need to do this. I need to put this text on the screen, but then this other thing happens, so now you have to write another thing for that, another thing for that. Very quickly, within an hour, let alone a whole day's worth of work, you've got a
Yeah.
very complex system that's all interacting, and some of it good and some of it not good. It just
Right.
you just
But I mean, this
keep
is
going.
like you start with basic and or gates, right?
Yeah.
You add them to
Yeah.
each other and you have one on top of another, and suddenly it
Yeah.
seems so complex, but the underlying system is so simple.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, but this isn't to say there isn't a massive amount of evolutionary change that is taking place. It is just our understanding of it that is evolving at the same time.
Yeah, very cool.
Um, moving from there, do you take antioxidants and any vitamins
No.
as you get older? Like
I do
me?
make sure to go out and get sun, so I get my vitamin B6 or D, vitamin D,
Vitamin D,
but I just get it
D3, I
from
hope. Yeah.
interacting with the sun. Anyway, yeah. But should I be?
I don't know.
Oh,
The people keep talking about how as we age, our bodies don't either get certain nutrients out of food as efficiently or use those nutrients or the
ah,
metabolic processes that end up leading to the basal compounds that we need to get out of food, that somehow they're not all getting into our body where it needs to be. Our systems
mhm,
kind
mhm.
of change. And so we have issues like, oh my gosh, my mitochondria are slowing down. And so my brain cells are moving less quickly. And I've got brain fog. And oh, wait, now I have dementia. No. But people take, lion's mane or they take D3 or they take
Mm,
vitamin B12 or whatever. One of the antioxidants that people have in their multivitamins sometimes or even on their own is glutathione. Glutathione is an antioxidant that is composed of cysteine, glycine, and glutamic acid. Cysteine is actually an amino acid, um, and glutamate is very important for our neural control. So, glutathione is something that is used by our body as a combination of these things. Our cells use it a lot. Antioxidants are great because it helps our cells deal with some of that damage caused by oxygen
mm,
throughout
mm,
our lives.
hmm.
Oxygen's wonderful, but we're rusting because of it. And so
Ah, wow.
antioxidants help us not rust biologically.
All right.
And glutathione is one of those things. Researchers were just looking at glutathione and they're like, hey, glutathione's really awesome. It works really well in cells. It helps our mitochondria stay healthier,
Hmm.
helps their processes go. But what is it doing and how is it doing that? And so, well, they really took a close look and they found out if you're looking at a model of a cell, you see the nucleus in the middle, and it's okay, DNA is in there, and it's like coming out of the nucleus, and that is a strip of RNA that gets transferred to the RNA. I mean, gets to the ribosomes, right? And the ribosomes are like, do do do. We're making amino acids. We're making an amino acid chain out of the RNA. Do do do. And so then you've got this unfolded amino acid chain, and it goes back to the wait, endophilic. Gosh, I have said this word so many times in my life. The ER. Yes, it is moving around through I'm gonna look at the endoplasmic reticulum, ER versus JC. Um, so, so the endoplasmic reticulum, yes, my brain and words work all the time. I need more lion's mane, apparently.
Yeah.
Menopause is awesome. Just letting you know. Just so you know. Um,
Noted.
so the endoplasmic reticulum, it takes in this chain of amino acids, and the endoplasmic reticulum is where the protein gets folded. It takes care of all the folding into that three-dimensional structure that
Mm,
becomes an enzyme or a catalyst or whatever it does within the cells. The endoplasmic reticulum loves glutathione. It takes an oxidized version of glutathione, and glutathione is essential for protein folding.
hmm.
So this team that was just publishing in their work in Nature Cell Biology from Rockefeller University,
Oh,
they realized that the endoplasmic reticulum is not just proofreading, it's not just folding, and glutathione needs to be oxidized for the endoplasmic reticulum to use it. And while it's there in the endoplasmic reticulum, it is essential for folding proteins correctly. If there's a transporter protein that is essential for getting glutathione into the endoplasmic reticulum, and if it's not working, the glutathione doesn't work right, and you get misfolded proteins. And when you get misfolded proteins, what do you get, Philip?
Disease.
Yes. You get things that don't work. You get disease. You get dysfunction. You get Alzheimer's disease. You get dementia. You get so many cellular problems. So anyway, they have a target within the endoplasmic reticulum for potentially helping with some of these diseases of protein misfolding.
Wow.
Now, they also have an answer as to why glutathione is so essential in some of these processes. And you can get it in a pill. You don't need it all the time, though. It's just supplements. Unless you are deficient in things, you do not need supplements.
Right.
That's the
right.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's fascinating. One of those things where it's like they find this just by doing this incredible detective work at this insanely, fine-tuned microscopic level, and they discover something that has huge implications throughout. It's fascinating. Fascinating.
And I think there's a lot like that where, I don't know, we're seeing things that have impacts across our systems. And it's like, we're like, this has a prescription only noted here. But then it turns out to impact everything.
Yeah. Well, I guess also if there are certain rules, there's certain properties or whatever that govern the system, and they are present everywhere. And so if you can find out something that's going on somewhere, if you can then, I guess, find your way to the generalized rule that governs that function, you might be able to do something far beyond that site, I guess, right? Yeah.
Absolutely.
So cool.
I did a story a long time ago on a compound called ubiquitin, and it's really interesting because ubiquitin comes from ubiquity, meaning like everywhere. Ubiquitous, right? Being everywhere. And I had never heard of it before, and it turns out ubiquitin is in every cell of our body. It is an essential protein. There's a gene responsible for it. There's multiple factors that impact how it is expressed and what happens with it. And it's essential for everything. And it is one of those things that people don't know enough about, and people ignore all the time. Wow. So I was just like, wow, I want to find more things like this. This is so interesting.
Yeah.
But anyway, look up ubiquitin.
Ubiquitin.
It's fascinating. I have one last story because we're getting late for you. You still look young and spry.
I'm very spry.
Okay. This one, though, it's, it has to do with yawning. It's the nighttime story.
I love this. Yeah. This is a great question.
This is so sweet. So published this week, today, coming out, Current Biology, a Cell Press journal, published Prenatal Behavioral Contagion Through Maternal Yawning and Fetal Resonance. What does this headline mean? Babies still in the womb yawn when their mothers do.
What? Wow.
Yeah.
I did not see that coming. That's amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So they were able to look at, they did tests on babies in the womb, looking at whether or not the mother would yawn and if the baby would yawn. And yes, indeed, if the mother was prompted, not even like in a disease state or anything. They were prompting the mother to yawn. Yawn, yawn, yawn. The mother yawned within 90 seconds. The fetus would yawn. And they were able to show that it was a connected dyad, so that this was not something that was stochastic or by chance, but that actually there is a connection between the yawning action in a mother and her fetal child.
Amazing. But
why?
They don't know
How?
the physical mechanism for that?
No.
Amazing.
No, they just showed that it's like not by chance. This is the first study to actually just show it's not by chance. And
Right.
so the question is, why? What is happening? Like, if the mother yawns when it's a fake yawn versus a real yawn versus like a real, like, I'm low on oxygen yawn, like, what are the differences? And is it a difference? It's 90 seconds, which is definitely long enough for nervous signaling to take place. But we know that we have a chemical environment, but the placenta is really like, is it pressure from the outside, like squeezing the womb because of the yawn? Or is it blood pressure and a change to a chemical component? It's long enough for either of these things to be true. But a minute and a half later, 90 seconds on average, you have the yawn.
Or is it some, I don't know if this is a legitimate question, but is it some sort of thought connection? You know, if their thoughts are connected, right?
I mean, this is, I think, it's a huge question, right? Is it?
Oh, but I guess that you could easily test if the mother
never
thought
felt
about
like I-
yawning, but
Yes.
then
And I can
Mhm.
say I never felt a thought connection between myself and my son, but maybe that explains a lot now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
What's interesting is that it took this long for somebody to ask that question, right? Like the picture here shows it's a kind of an illustration, but it shows a woman, the mother yawning, and then there's a picture of an ultrasound, I guess like a 3D ultrasound, right, of the baby. So you figure those have been around a long time.
Yeah, so we've actually known for a very long time that babies in the womb yawn. It's been seen when we're doing ultrasounds.
Right.
It's the same, like, especially once the fetus is old enough with the bone and muscular structure, it's the same organization. Everything resembles an adult yawn. And people have said, well, maybe it's just babies yawn in utero as part of learning how to breathe, or maybe it's a brain organization thing where the brain is testing out new signals. And that could still be true, but this is the first time that it's been tested as a contagion, which we know it is. Right? So, like, if someone yawns, other people yawn. But it's usually you see the yawn or you hear the yawn or you're influenced by some social factor, right? How would it be a social factor with the babies?
Right. Oh, that is fascinating. And maybe that what's interesting is, right, that somehow perhaps the fact that we do yawn when other people yawn goes back to the womb, right? That's
and that's one of those things, right? And we can see there's yawning of fish. Like, there's all sorts of, like, evolutionarily yawning is something that goes way back.
Oh, I didn't know that fish yawn.
Yeah, yawning is not just a human kind of thing, but there's the way and why humans do it is, and especially the contagious part of it is what's not understood.
Right.
And so the fact that there is a timed dyad of the baby's yawning behavior that coincides in a certain way, like synchronized with the mother's, is that especially like in this setup, it's not even a real yawn. The mother was like got a contagious yawn.
Right.
So it wasn't like the mom was really tired or lacked oxygen or whatever. It was a contagious yawn for the mom, and then the baby got a contagious yawn.
Because the mom is watching, in the illustration, the mom is watching a computer screen, right, where somebody yawns on the screen. Fascinating. Yeah, I think in the last episode you had a thing on yawning. There was another yawning thing. Yeah.
I made lots of people yawn, I think. And I'm doing it again, I hope.
Yeah. But you said there that we don't know why people yawn, and I thought that was fascinating. Actually, I know my cat yawns. She yawns all the time.
Yeah.
I'm clearly not entertaining enough.
I'm gonna yawn soon. It's like I can feel it in my my throat and my ear area. I'm like,
yeah,
I can hold it back. It's okay.
Yeah. Wow. Fascinating. That's a good question.
So why, how? We don't know. Last week we were talking about the yawning, and it was something related to the flow of cerebrospinal fluid and lymph versus blood flow. But it didn't really have to do with the contagious part of it. It just had to do with what it physiologically might be shifting. But maybe this is doing it too. But why? This is what we don't know.
Yeah.
Don't know the answer.
It's fascinating. I have to confess that on my podcast, this would turn into a question of what if you had a malevolent overlord who used this to take over somehow, made everybody yawn, and they fell asleep. Yeah.
Or all they could do was yawn.
That's all they could do.
There it comes. Oh, there it is. It's been sitting there. It was a small one. It wasn't one of the big yawns, but it was there. That was real. It came. We made that happen.
That's very good. But you're refreshed after a yawn. I feel like a little bit, like a mini nap. Yeah.
Right. Which is the cerebrospinal fluid getting rid of, waste products, helping to move the lymph, the old lymph out and the new lymph in, getting new blood in. It's part of that. It's very important. And it would be important for babies too. But maybe how is the contagion taught in the womb? I am not going to get over this. Oh my gosh.
And have they? I'm going to guess they've tested.
And the malevolent overlord then is teaching the mothers to teach the babies, so everyone will always be subject to yawns.
Yeah. Time for our yawn. Stand up, nation.
I am Emperor Yawn.
But have they tested things like if the mom moves her left hand, does the baby move their hand? The mom moves her right. Are there other things like that?
I think that's a great question. I will look into that. They didn't have that as part of it. They were looking at opening or closing their eyes versus a still face versus a yawn.
Huh.
And so only facial movements, not body. But I don't know. So I don't know about other body movements.
Yeah.
And so in this case, all they could say was that the yawn was the thing that was connected and not just having a still face or opening or closing your mouth, not your eyes, your mouth.
Oh, yeah.
So if the mother just opened and closed their mouth, that was not synchronized. That was not connected.
Yeah. I'm so glad there are people.
But a yawn.
Yeah. What were you going to say? A yawn?
I'm going to yawn again.
Oh.
It's up later than me. Jeez.
Yeah. I'll tell you, New York, we're used to it.
It keeps you from being subject to yawning, I guess. Jeez.
It's true. I was it would be a joke in there like, yeah, well, we can only do that when we think of Los Angeles. That's all. Or New Jersey, or something. But
I like
I'm so
New
glad
York
there.
humor. I'm a fan.
Yeah, okay. I'm so glad there are people out there who look into this situation, all these situations. So, thank goodness. Yeah.
It is a basis of understanding. So, and this is one of those things where people could turn it into like why were people funded to study
Right.
yawns in babies? Like, who cares? What does this really tell us? Oh my gosh, they laughed about it on this podcast radio show, blah, 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 blah. But when it comes down to it, if we can understand the developmental basis for reflexes like this, for the behavior that we do, it can also help us understand all of like it really comes down to understanding dysfunction, right? Understanding how breathing goes wrong, how sleep apnea happens, how gosh, when babies die in the crib because of whatever the crib death. I'm sorry, I'm putting words lost me again. I didn't lose words. Words lost me.
That's right.
But there are so many places where if we can understand the basis for how these behaviors even start, we can understand so much more about ourselves as we exist alone, independently, and with others. And we can have a better society. That's what I think. But
yeah,
that's what I'd like. Thank you, Fada Sids. Yes, that's the one. I should know. I'm a mom.
Oh.
I read all this stuff once upon a time.
I can imagine.
Yeah.
What was I going to say?
I don't know.
I know. I forgot it. I've always often thought. I'm often surprised. I'm constantly surprised, actually, as a non-scientist, at least as a lapsed scientist, that how much we don't know. And I always thought it would be fun to do a show, like it'd be a great TV show, or it could be a podcast, just what we don't know. Because I think most people think we know just about everything, and we're working on we're fine tuning things.
There is, I mean, because there is some of it that is, let's talk about the fine tuning we don't know, right? So when we talk about our climate change models, what would make them more accurate? What don't we know? What would make them better? But also, what don't we know about the universe? What don't we know about psychology? What don't we know about people? It'd be so great. And I think I used to get mad at there were a couple of books, one called The End of Science, which is, based on physics, really, but it's based on this idea that we're getting to the end of asking questions. We're almost done. There we go. And I was like, what do you mean? Every time we find something, there are more questions. I think every time we talk about something on TWIS, I have more questions afterwards.
Yeah. For sure.
And sometimes I'm like, I didn't even know that was a question. Now I have more questions.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I think in biology, that was similar. I remember, I think Gabby once was talking about it, that early in biology too. I guess every science probably went through this period where we're like, we're almost done.
Almost.
We've almost figured it out. Yeah.
That's just a bunch of hubris.
Yeah.
People
well,
in their
the worst hubris is the ones who say we have figured it out and we're done. That's a bad thing. And there are some scientists who are a little bit like that. They get stuck,
I try not, but
Yeah.
I try to show people that we can do more, and there's more to ask questions about and more to think about. And
I think it'd be nice if I could be wrong, but I feel like we've lost a bit of the sense of wonder, like that used to be more of our culture, right? That in the days of Carl Sagan, or I don't know. And the Artemis mission, there was a moment, where I think people did sort of look to have that feeling again briefly.
Everybody at the same time. It was so beautiful.
Yeah. But
It
so
was
much of the
great.
time, everything is so negative, so to be able to connect with that. That's why I love listening to your podcast and others, like it, or other shows too. It's like you just get to learn amazing stuff and hear about people doing incredible things, positive things.
Thank you. I mean, that's what I love. That's what I love doing, and telling those stories, talking about that stuff, and celebrating the idea and the fact that we can all be curious about this stuff together, and that we can all learn new things together, and that we can all find out that there is more beyond just our day-to-day, right? That there's so much more out there to be excited about. I don't know.
That's a beautiful, let's all be curious together. That's a beautiful sentiment. I love that. That's very cool. That's very cool.
I think it's fun. So I'm sitting here and I've got no more stories.
All right.
And we're at the end of the hour. And do you have any stories that we just didn't talk about? Anything that you want to cover?
No, I don't think so. We did a lot at the beginning. That was really good. Yeah, it was very good. It was very good. I mean, we could talk about. Well, I could just talk a tiny bit about the science of the Artemis mission.
I would love that. I love the Artemis mission. Yeah, let's talk for 1 minute about that. Yeah.
So the Artemis mission involved exploration and bravery, and obviously physics and great engineering and all that kind of stuff, and technology. For instance, they tried some new technology in communications. They tried using an optical transmission or something like that, to get bigger files down faster, stuff like that. But obviously, a substantial part of it was science, and it was really wonderful to get to see. If you watched the mission over the 10 days or so that it was in operation, it was great to see the science team get so much press time. Again, you have to watch the NASA press conferences, whatever. So I forget her name, but the young woman who ran the science team, came out and spoke, and they had cameras, and there were
great.
two rooms full of all these scientists waiting for the astronauts to start reporting back about what they saw on the moon. And something that was fascinating, I'm still want to learn more about this, but we've had satellites going around the moon for a long time. We've had people on the moon. We've had satellites going around the moon. We've had telescopes trained on the moon. We study the moon all the time. And so here were these 4 astronauts, and they were just going to look at the moon and take some pictures. But the looking at the moon and reporting back, I thought was what a strange thing. How is that even valuable? It's just well, it looks kind of cool. I don't know, but they had trained. They were look, we have this opportunity, whatever, they're going to be there. What science can they do? And there were 2 things they said. One, that they can be trained as geologists, basically planetary geologists, lunar geologists. So they were given all this information about this is how the geology of the moon works. These are patterns you should see. Let us know if you see these patterns. But one of the things, just one of the many things they were asked to report on, was colors on the surface of the moon. That there are these extremely subtle, and it's funny because I'm colorblind. I probably, yet another reason I wouldn't have made it to the astronaut crew. But there are these very
you and Blair both.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But it depends on the colors that are varying, right? Is it red, green, or is it blues? What are the colors?
My eye doctor once showed me there are these tests, right, where all these patterns of dots, and you're supposed to see. Anyway, so he had 13 of these. He went through them, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I answered all of them. And he says, well, you missed a couple. And I said, how many? He's like,
14.
All of them.
Yeah,
but
we've talked about it before. My brother, we found out he was colorblind at the California Exploratorium because they had an exhibit with those dot trails within circles. And I was like, do, and my brother was like, what are you talking about? And my dad went, what? So very familiar from a distance.
Yeah. But so there are these very, very, very subtle and colors, and even in the sort of in the shadows, sort of you could see some colors could be different. So that was one of the things they reported back on, and that told them about different materials that were on the moon. But also they could, with all the pictures they took, you can actually go online, you can see they basically turned the saturation up in all these photographs, and you can see, these are the colors that they were talking about. But anyway, it was fascinating that they did all that, and then they saw the solar eclipse, and they could look back at the Earth and see all these different kinds of things. So, I just thought it was a beautiful moment to get to see people doing science live, and then the process, just to see the excitement of all of them doing it. Like you saw science live in a way. And they just recently, and I encourage everyone to go to the NASA website. Oh yeah, you found it. Yeah, was that? Or anyway, on the NASA Artemis website now, they've just uploaded like 12,000 of the pictures. I think there's even more coming.
Yeah, some of these are these images. I'm not exactly sure if they are color assisted or if they're from NASA.
Right. Yeah, well, they're definitely.
I've just done it. What I'm showing right now on our screen is just a Google search. So, if you're watching, do not expect that there's a rainbow of fruit flavors on the moon.
Yeah, but that is. I mean, I don't know if every one of these is exact, but that is what the pictures look like. Especially there, that one in the bottom right there, you can see. Yeah, really cool. And then. Somebody then, took, so this basically they would hit the shutter button on their camera often and just shoot like, a zillion at a time, right? And so you had a series of them, and people are taking those and turning them into little movies because they're essentially little movies or little time-lapse movies. And Hank Green today was showing some that you could see when pictures of the Earth, and you could see the aurora moving along the one side.
Whoa,
Then you
gorgeous.
could see thunderstorms, lightning flashing on another part. And then you could see all around satellites moving, and he said, wow, this planet is alive. Like if you just came here, you'd be like, oh yeah, there's a lot going on here.
There's stuff going on. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
Oh, I can't wait to dig into these photos from NASA. Thank you for this. I didn't realize.
Yeah. And the resolution of them obviously is, they're much better.
Super.
Now that they're downloaded, you can see insanely high quality. It's like stunning.
Not just the very small, 20 bits per second that they were sending or whatever.
Exactly. And you know what? One of the coolest things is, I'll end with this, that they sent them up there with iPhones so that they could, there may have been other reasons for it as well, but basically they took pictures with very high quality cameras, but they also had these iPhones, and they shot some of these. There's just like a video that literally of them shooting out the window, zooming in. It's all out of focus, and then it focuses, and like, oh, that's the Earth right behind the moon, and it feels so, you can relate to it so much, and yet it's the moon. It's like really crazy. So.
Yeah, there are some of the images. They're so ridiculous. You can't.
Yeah.
They're gorgeous, and they showing.
There you go. Yeah.
Showing some of these incredible images. So for instance, like where the Earth is on the other side of the moon, or where you've got all of them looking out the window, looking at things. There's one image, and I'm not seeing it, but there's one image where like somebody's hand is just barely in front of this incredible image of the moon with the Earth just poking up right behind it.
And so an
It's
interesting thing about that is the
oh,
crew asked that they not say that this picture was taken by this person and this picture was taken by that person,
right.
not because
It's
of
the
a
crew.
privacy thing, it's just the crew. And so we don't know whose hand that is.
Mhm.
Interestingly.
They know.
They probably know, yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's not whose hand it is that matters.
That's right. It's
Right.
humanity's hand.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
yeah, these are
being able
amazing pictures. Yeah.
they're gorgeous. But I think,
Mm.
considering the colors of I love this one where it's just the
Mm.
dark
Yeah.
dark side of the moon. We've got a little bit of the lit side of the moon with its cratering and the very, very tip, this edge of the earth showing up over
And you should
Earthrise.
watch, you can see the
Yeah.
movie of that moment,
Yeah.
and they're all, like, talking, and like, "Oh my god, look at that." So, yeah.
What an amazing thing to have been part of. Like, these
Yep,
astronauts got to be part of a hugely impactful human moment, and it
yep,
is so incredible.
yep.
Just yeah. I
They
mean,
also had cameras, they actually put GoPro cameras, just like things you would use when you're skateboarding, on the ends of the solar panels that were outside the
yeah.
ship. So they would take
Yes,
pictures
so
of
they
that
did
too.
get some outside.
Yeah.
Lawn is gonna turn into a pumpkin. Oh my gosh, yes, it's getting late for people. I know. But with this, I mean, I think you mentioned the being able to see Earth and see Earth as a ship
Yeah.
with its own crew and
Yep.
being able to see how delicate and how vulnerable our atmosphere is, how our biosphere is just this thin layer of protection
Yeah.
over, you know, over our beautiful blue planet. And I just feel like that is something that when Captain Kirk came back,
Yeah.
the overlook effect, the impact of going to space and seeing our planet as the blue marble where all of humanity is contained,
Yeah.
the impact that that has on people. I People want to figure out how to share that so that we
Mm.
can work together as the
Yeah.
crew of this ship, right?
Yep.
That we can ride it before the storms take us out.
Yep. Yep.
I
And that
believe we
we should
can.
get along. Yeah.
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 I mean, or if we don't get along, that we have processes to respect each other and figure out a path through.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think that is like one of the biggest issues is
Mhm. Mhm.
now people not talking to each other, people being just angry and only wanting to be angry and not wanting to fix things. It'll work
Mhm.
itself out. This'll
Mhm.
do, blah, blah, blah. No, I mean, of course it will work itself out, but if we want things to work for us as humans, if we want this planet to last, we have to mediate. We have to manage. We have to do it
Yeah.
because no one is making this up except for us. Like, ah, ah. I get so frustrated sometimes,
Yep.
but then I get to come here and talk about science with people like you, and it's great.
Likewise. Likewise.
Everyone in the chat room, don't turn into a pumpkin. But it is probably time for bed. And I will say, Fada was trying to remind me that I missed one of my stories tonight, which is about a big giant pit in Sweden. And in Sweden, what a company is doing is that they're digging a big giant pit, like the size of 2 football pitches, and it's deep, and they're going to make a giant flow battery. And so they're going to do a big giant flow battery that could power like 200, 300,000 homes worth of battery power, like 2 point whatever, almost 3 gigahertz or gigawatt, not hertz, gigawatts of power,
Mm.
with a very fast recharge and decharge rate as well, where it's over 1 gigawatt very quickly. It sounds like a wonderful technology. I did a video when I was on TWIT with Green Energy
Oh, wow.
years ago on flow batteries. I got help doing a actually drawn by hand whiteboard video. It's somewhere on the internet, I'm
Awesome.
sure. I got to go
Awesome.
find it. But
What is a flow battery? Is it?
a flow battery is basically using it's a lot of water, but it's basically using ions,
Mhm.
sodium on one side. So the same way that like a neuron can be powered by the gradient across a membrane, where if you have more positive charge on one side, more negative charge on the other, it'll lead to a flow across the membrane from the positive to the negative. And so you can fill two sides, two tanks across a membrane of a certain composition,
Cool.
and you can take in solar, wind, whatever energy and pump it into the positive side, fill it up, and that battery, it'll flow across to the other side until it is in a homeostatic or balanced state. And then if you need to use the battery, you pull out the plug on the other side, and then you have flow and you have charge flow across, because as you remove charge from one side, it needs to flow across. And so you have a power differential, a gradient, a differential that creates current.
Cool.
And so flow batteries have been considered as a large scale solution to a lot of our battery problems, but people really, really want us to use like these heavy metals and lithium ion and, metal ion batteries across the board. But I don't think all solutions are correct for this. This is, however, the biggest scale test of a flow battery design for like a major use. And what they're planning to do is create a major data campus at this site, where it would be a data center. It would also be a technology campus. It would be a place for companies to build. And they're trying to create a little tech boom in this area. We'll see how it works.
Very cool.
I'm excited about it because it doesn't need to be fossil powered. It doesn't need precious metals to run.
And storage is storage is the problem with green energy, right? Obviously, you have to store for when it's not, the wind isn't blowing or the sun isn't shining. Yeah.
And this is a big storage facility, basically. And flow batteries, they're an old technology, a proven technology. There's no reason why this should not work, especially with modern materials, modern catalysts, modern methods of getting the power in and out. I really think they have a chance. And I think it's one of the technologies, like I mentioned earlier, the fight is on. And I think it's one of the technologies that is being squashed because of its promise.
Oh.
But don't quote me on that.
That's a good cliffhanger. That's a good cliffhanger right there. Yeah.
All right, everybody. Yeah, no swimming. No swimming in the flow batteries, Paul. No swimming. This is not a swimming pool. The batteries will eat you alive. Like, really. They'll eat you up. Okay. We're going to close the show. We done?
Thank you for having me. This has been such a pleasure, such a treat. And I've learned, so, as I always do every episode, but like this one, I actually got to ask direct questions of the doctor.
That's right. As you were listening,
amazing.
You're like, oh, well, let me ask.
It's like, wow, high bandwidth this time. Very cool. Thank you. It's an honor to be here, and I appreciate it. And I hope that Blair gets better. And
I do too.
Everybody.
She's been going through it recently. I would love to have her come back in full health and energy. And speaking of which, oh my gosh, I almost forgot to announce that tomorrow, Blair's new podcast is launching. So Blair has a brand new podcast that is about, it's basically taking animal cryptozoology and what ifing and D&Ding it.
Cool.
And so they're playing the what if D&D game, but with cryptobiology. So could this animal exist? How would it act? What would it do?
Wow.
Blair's the zoologist. They've got game players, and they are off and running with a lot of creativity. Check out Blair's new podcast. It is released, and hopefully Fada will share this with the TWIS social media this week. Fantastical Field Guide is the name of the podcast. I think it's on Acast, and it's on Instagram. Yes.
Mm.
And maybe, yeah, Fantastical Field Guide. So I'm going to, on Instagram, it is at Fantastical Field Guide. And I'm going to share this tab right now because you will be able to see Blair and her husband, Brian, their dog.
Amazing.
Cute little corgi. Blair and their co-host. So Blair, Jesse, and Brian.
That's great.
Fantastical Field Guide. And I'm not logged into Instagram right now, so I can't give that to you. But if you look for Fantastical Field Guide, and we will get a link out in the TWIS show notes for everybody so that it'll make it easy for you to get the first episode and to make sure that you can check it out.
Very cool. I'll sign up for that.
I love the idea of it. Fantastical Field Guide.
Very cool.
Yes, tomorrow. Look for it. Look for her Instagram. Look for it on all, like if you go to Instagram, if you go to these places, you'll be able to find the links to it and you'll be able to subscribe. And I will help share any social media out there about this tomorrow. So hopefully we'll get her a lot of listens.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Fantastical Field Guide. Okay. We did that. And now, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for reminding me of the thing that I was going to forget and I had told Blair that I would do. Not failing entirely. Thank you, everyone, for keeping me up on all of the needs. It's time to end the show. Time to say goodnight. Time to say thank you. Thank you, all of you here tonight. Thank you, Paul. Thank you, Paul, for helping out with me finding Blair's podcast. Thank you for recording the show as well. Thank you, everyone in the chat room, for being in the chat room, keeping it a great place to be. All of you are just special in the fact that we're able to create this compassionate, respectful community that can talk about all this stuff. Thank you for being here and doing this. Vada, thank you for your help with social media and show notes. Rachel, thank you for editing the show. Philip Shane, thank you for guest hosting tonight on short notice and for being here for the whole time and wanting to talk about science and other cool things for so long.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dr. Kiki, for all your work and all your shows over all these years.
Thank you.
Wonderful.
Where can people find you? Where should they find you? As a reminder, What the If? We just talked about Blair's podcast. Where should people find you? Yeah,
you can find out about my podcast, whattheif.com. Is a place to find that, and it's also available on all the finer podcast places like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Overcast, which I like in particular, and lots of others. Nice. Come check it out if you've not heard it before, and Patreon. We're on Patreon as well, and you can find out more about my film stuff. And also, by the way, for those who are interested, I teach classes in AI for creative people. Just want to learn a little bit of fun stuff. You can go to my website, philipshane.com. That's Philip with one L. That's all my parents could afford. Shane.com. There it is.
That's funny.
And you can
Only
contact
one
me.
L.
Only
That's
one
all.
L. That's all we had. That's all we had.
Awesome. I love that you have an AI class. I love that
Mhm.
you have a podcast. There's so much that you do. This is great. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for being a part of this right now. I appreciate it. Go Aggies. Yeah. And finally, let me give thanks to our Patreon sponsors. Dun, dun, dun. Thank you to Aaron Anathema, Adam Mishkan, Alan Viola, Ali Coffin, Andrew Swanson, Artem, Arthur Kepler, Bob Calder, Bob Coles, Brendan Minish, Brian I'm not even showing this on the stage. There we are. Brian Carrington, Chris Wozniak, Christopher Dreyer, Christopher Rappin, Craig Landon, Craig Potts, Daryl Myshaks, Dave Wilkinson, David E. Youngblood, Don Mundus, E.O., Eden Mundell, Eric Knapp, Flying Out, Fred S104, G. Burton Lattimore, Greg Briggs, Jack, Jason Olds, John Atwood, John McKee, John Ratnaswamy, Johnny Ridley, Ken Hayes, Kent Northcote, Kevin Parachan, Kevin Reardon, Kurt Larson, Lon Makes, Lauren Gifford, Marjorie Gertz, Mary Gertz, Marjorie, Mark Hessenflow, Mark Jenkins, Noodles, Patrick Pecoraro, Paul D. Disney, Paul Ronovich, Philip Shane.
Yeah.
Richard Badge, Robert Farley, Rodney Lewis, Rudy Garcia, Remy Day, Sean Clarence Lab, Shoe Brew, Stephen Alberon, Steve Leisman, aka Zima, Sue Doster, Teresa Smith, Tony Steele, and Vegard Schefstad. Thank you for your support on Patreon. Can't do it without you. And if anyone would be interested in helping to keep the show going, to help out every month, head over to TWIS.org, click on that Patreon link, and choose the level of your support. Whatever you can give helps. And I did see some new patrons this month who I am so thankful for. Thank you very much. Woot, woot, woot. And I'm going to say all this stuff that Blair and I usually go back and forth about, unless you want to do cold read here and be Blair Phillip.
Oh, let me see.
Oh, wait, what?
Yeah, I could do.
You could be Blair.
This is segment 9 close.
Yes, we are in segment 9 close.
I'll be Blair.
And I'm going to say right now on next week's show, hopefully Blair will be back. And we are going to be speaking with the author of Your Unicorn Career, Elena Levine. So please don't miss it.
And we will be back on Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific time, broadcasting live from our Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook channels.
And if you want to listen to us as a podcast, search for This Week in Science wherever podcasts are found. And if you enjoy the show, put it on your friends' podcast players as well. Get them to subscribe too, please. That'd be great.
Totally. And for more information on anything you've heard here today, show notes and links to stories will be available on our website, www.twis.org. And you can also sign up for our newsletter.
That's absolutely true. And I have ideas for the newsletter. Told you last week. Maybe something special. I don't know. But we love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, suggestion for an interview, please let us know on one of our social media accounts or send us an email. Just make sure you put TWIS in the subject line so your email doesn't get spam filtered into... Let's see, where would it get spam filtered into this time? It would get spam filtered, into that giant pit they're digging in Sweden. Yeah.
And I am so excited and honored to be able to read this line that says, "We look forward to discussing science with you again next week. And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
it's all in your head."
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth, and I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science.